lot of her choices do not reflect empowerment of women.
And it doesn't seem fair. Like she's a human being. Like it kind of takes away her humanity.
Her bold life, would it have been so bold had it not been for Diego's money, fame? As a female, I look at her life, I do not feel inspired or empowered by it at all. Okay, so we are here today and we are going to talk about Frida Kahlo, probably her life, her pain. Do you paint pain? Do you not paint pain? All that stuff. And I'm here with Tanner Polsley, and we thought about doing this because we work together and he's on the media team and Tanner does all kinds of things, but he does a lot of producing, a lot of ideation. So we work together a lot. And over the years, we are constantly talking about art history, politics, religion, spirituality, feminism. I mean,
our workplace conversations are wild.
The Ukrainian war. I mean, we talk about all the stuff most people don't talk about, or, and we rarely agree, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes we agree.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's a flip of a coin if we're going to agree on something or not.
Yeah. And sometimes I would say we rarely wholly agree. And we rarely wholly disagree.
Yeah, that's a good
We sort of, I don't know, we find a lot of common ground. Yeah.
That's us.
Yeah. But I really appreciate that Tanner is somebody that you can have a discussion with and not get all crazy and personal and frothy mouthed about it. So it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah.
And so we have talked about Frida Kahlo multiple times, and we've had Frida Kahlo as a central like during art battles. I think we had to paint her portrait. Dimitra and I had to paint her portrait once, or like she's showed up over the years.
How can she not? She's a very iconic artist.
Right. Okay. So what do you think overall? What is your big picture blanket opinion of Frida?
Ooh, that's so hard. I would summarize my overall opinion on Frida Kahlo as,
So you're not in love?
I'm not in love with her, but I think she's a very fascinating person. And I mean, she's had an impact on the art world in some way. Like, you can't deny that. I asked our camera guy, what do you think about Frida Kahlo? And he's like, who's that? I was like, the unibrow. It's like, oh. So it's like, even if you don't know her name, you know her. It's like everyone has
You've seen it.
Yeah.
Because she's been very commercialized.
Yeah. Yeah, which is interesting. Yeah, I think she's interesting.
You think she's interesting?
Yeah. What about you?
I mean, I think she's interesting, but I have more opinionated things to say, less safe things to say about her.
Yeah.
I'm accusing you of being safe now.
No, I mean...
But if you don't strongly feel anything about her other than, like, she's interesting, she's okay, she's done a lot for the art world, I mean, that's your opinion, right?
Yeah.
I think I have stronger feelings about her only because she touches on things that I'm kind of passionate about and not always in the best way. So I think I divert a bit from how the art world sees her, and I'm definitely not crazy about her. But it's interesting because when I was in high school, I became an artist when I was 15, or I discovered art, let's say, at 15. And I think my art teacher, looking back, was a feminist. So this is in the mid 80s.
Mm-hmm. And that's when she was really starting to pop off too.
Yeah. And so she like recommended her to me, and she's like, oh, look, because I was beginning to paint and I was lost. I didn't know what to paint or how to paint. And so she's like, well, you could always do a self-portrait like Frida. And I'm like, who's that? So she got me a book, and I was looking through the book, and I was immediately drawn to her art. Now, granted, I was a moody teenager and all into, like, I was goth, or we called it new wave at the time. But anyway, I wore like black drippy lipstick and fingernails, and I had a shaved head. And so I think her sort of dark vibe, appealed to me at the time. Yeah. And I loved her paintings of like women with animals and with the monkeys and different things, but I didn't understand a lot about her. I didn't really get it. And it was mostly just the color, the style, her fashion sense, that
You
kind of
basically
thing.
separated the art from the artist
Yeah.
because you didn't know the artist. You know.
Yeah, and I didn't know her, and I didn't read the book. I just looked at the pictures.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was kind of like my first introduction to Frida. And then over the years, I think in college, I was like really into her, and all the teachers were into her, and all the students were into her. And so it was like, if you didn't think Frida was it was very uncool.
Yeah.
And then as I grew up and I got older and I started to sort of challenge everything more, challenge myself about what I think, then I started to like really dig. And now I'm like, okay, this is a very long answer, but Frida herself, I don't fault at all. I think she painted her authentic, true self, which I like that.
Yeah.
She definitely was outside the box. She definitely thought for herself, Diego aside, but maybe we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But in terms of art, she didn't just follow what was going on. She didn't follow in Diego's footsteps much. She did her own thing. So, you know, that's the stuff that I like. And so I don't really fault her. It's more the art world craze of how they have, in my opinion, refashioned her and reinvented her and ignored a lot of the things that don't work for their narrative and only highlight the things that do. Mm-hmm. That is what I resent.
Okay. I can see that. And that is kind of true. Because, like, you know, researching Frida, you know, diving into her before we filmed this, I tried finding, like, some concrete stuff about her, like, views and stuff, like, on, like, feminism and women's rights. And whenever I Googled just to see, like, Frida Kahlo's views on feminism. And all I got were articles talking about how she's a feminist icon. But it was kind of hard to find things that were actually, like, her views, like things she actually said.
Yeah, it was because she, you know, and here's the thing. The reason she dressed like a man, okay, was because Diego cheated on her with her little sister.
Yeah.
And it broke her heart. So to get back at him in a way, she cut her hair off, dressed like a man because he loved her dressing like a traditional Mexican woman. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't because she was challenging gender whatever, but that's what they say about her. And then if you really dig and look, it was always not because she really had these feminist views or wanted to challenge gender roles. It was always like to thumb her nose at something or somebody, which I don't fault her for. Thumb your nose all you want.
There's nothing wrong with that. Like that's that's good.
Sure.
Do what you want.
I mean, like, we all thumb our nose, right? Like
exactly.
I do. I mean, it's an artist thing, but
yeah.
But I just, so I don't ever really fault her. I see her life as very authentic. Do I like it? Is it uplifting and inspiring? Not so much, but it is authentic.
Yeah.
And that's the admirable part of her. But is she like this raucous feminist that's gonna like that? You know, that's only just really how she was painted.
Yeah.
Because a lot of her choices do not reflect empowerment of women. They actually do the opposite.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's also kind of like, did she intend to be a feminist icon? I don't know. But she did live a life that was, I think, could be empowering to women because she was doing her thing, making her own mark on the world, doing her own art, not just, you know, being the wife of an artist, despite headlines and stuff writing that about her at the time. Like in that aspect, like I think her life can be looked at as like a little empowering maybe for women. I mean, I'm not a woman. So
yeah, but it's interesting, but in what ways?
Just the fact that, you know, in the 20s, 30s, 40s, you know, it was harder for women to get into shows, be taken seriously as an artist and whatnot. So, and she did do that. And, you know, she did break a lot of gender molds, even if it wasn't to, you know, be a feminist. You know, she still did it. She still cut her hair off. She still wore men's clothing. She still, you know, was bold, put herself out there and stuff. So I do think those things could be empowering to women, I think. I don't know, you're a woman. What do you think about that aspect?
Well, I'll say in a minute, but I want to see what you think a little bit deeper. Do you think that as this empowered woman that she would have got in with the famous people that she got in with initially, got the invitation to Paris, got the shows, got the Louvre to buy a piece, had it not been for her uber famous husband?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think so. I don't think so either. But I mean, to be fair, that's kind of how life is. Like,
Yeah,
it's,
I don't
it's who you
fault
know,
her.
it's networking,
For sure.
connections and stuff.
But I'm just saying, like, her bold life, would it have been so bold had it not been for Diego's money, fame, notoriety,
yeah.
and connections? Would she have lived so boldly had she never met him or got mixed up in that crowd?
I don't know. That's a good, valid question. But the thing is, she could have, met Diego, married him, all that, and not lived that life too. So like, she still chose to pursue that kind of life. She just had the resources to actually do it then through Diego. So.
And she attracted him somehow.
Yeah.
So she got there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess what I think about that is I see your point and I think it's valid for sure. But also I see a whole lot of things. So in my opinion, you kind of just did what the rhetoric does for her, because you ignored all the things that are very depowering or not empowering to women.
Like what?
Well, okay. I do think that, if you read about her, she's hailed as this amazing, positive person that overcame all her obstacles and challenges and health challenges and lived beyond that. And I completely disagree. I feel like she glorified it. She constantly painted it. She identified with all of her physical challenges to such a degree that mainly all she did is self-portraits. I just think that's a very narcissistic, well, actually, I think her husband is the true narcissist, and it rubbed off on her in a very like, it's all about me way. And she didn't paint beyond that or live beyond that or move beyond that, and was so deeply affected by every outside influence and really doesn't seem to have any kind of inner anchor that could on her own overcome outside influences. So she was, sort of travailing with the wind, and, as some adversity came her way, it would like completely knock her out. In fact, it's what killed her. Like she died in that. So I don't feel like that. And what she put up with Diego, yeah, she wasn't, great either, but she didn't like sleep with his brother. And most of it was like retaliation. Like, I feel like there's some people that write about her that she lived very dualistically. And, her most famous painting, I think the Louvre bought it, the two Fridas. Is that the one the Louvre bought?
The Louvre bought the frame. I think, yeah. It's
like the picture frame? Or a painting
that
called
was
the
the
frame?
painting called the frame.
Oh. Yeah. I was like, that's a diss.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I don't know, but it's a really famous painting.
Yeah. I think that's one of the ones that like people know.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. And I think that I know it was more about her relationship with Diego and, who he rejected and who the two parts of her, and the one he loved and the one he rejected.
Yeah.
But I just think like, even there's the fact that she was at war with her body her whole life, and that she, not only polio, but then the bus and then trying to fix everything so she could have kids, and like constantly being at war with her body, I think was a manifestation of that duality. And so you see that a lot, and a lot of people have written about it. And I think that, and I also think that in terms of her empowerment or her ability to overcome or live in any kind of victorious way. I don't know. It's like you see glimmers of it, but overall, I would say she lived a dark life that got the better of her, and she didn't end well. And I would say she was not victorious and was a victim of herself.
Yeah.
Which I don't find empowering. Basically, I don't look up to Frida. I don't like look at Frida and go, oh my God, I want to be just like her. I look at Frida and go, ugh. Boy, what a mess. What a train wreck.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And I don't see her as a victim either. I see people that have lived equally or more difficult lives that seem to rise above it better.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of view her as, I don't know. Okay, she's such a nuanced person that I feel like, honestly, I think this is the problem, is that like we
Yeah,
take
you
these
can't do a
historical,
big broad brushstroke.
yeah, because she was a human being. Like no human being is
Yeah,
simple.
and she lived her authentic life
Yeah,
with all the duality and
Yeah.
contradictions and
yeah, and I mean, I know she painted a lot of her pain. You know, a lot of her paintings are interesting. But I don't know. I do think there's something kind of beautiful about that in a way. Like painting your pain and
Oh.
kind of like, you know, turning all these things she's struggling with, you know, like basically being a prisoner in your own body and all those themes and bring that
Yeah.
into your work. Like even if it's not presented in a way that shows overcoming necessarily.
Okay, here's my issue. Here's my number one issue is she did not live her life trying to be a leader, pretending to be a leader, wanting that role, desiring to be, I mean, that I can see. It's possible I'm wrong.
She had her moments. She was part of the Communist Party. She was for the cause for them.
No, but I'm saying
Right.
I don't believe that. I don't see evidence that she stepped up to the plate and was like, I'm going to lead others and I want people to follow in my path. I'm stepping in the role of a leader. Yet the world has put her in that place and they have called her a leader in a way by saying she's a feminist icon. Anytime you're an icon for anything, now you're in a position of leadership. So that is my issue right there, because as a leader, I think making a whole lifestyle or life career of self-portraits highlighting your pain and agony and distress and 100% of it being negative. There's nothing she ever painted that I could see that was positive and beautiful. And like, today's a good day. Things went my way today. Like, it's always this negative, look at all this bad junk that's happening to me. And here it is. And that is okay for anybody to do. But I mean, I'm not like faulting that, but to make that now, you're an inspiration, you're a leader. It's like, no, you're not.
I don't know. I think you could be. I mean,
Why?
I feel like it's like that saying that like a joy shared is a joy doubled, a sorrow shared is a sorrow halved, you know? So I don't know. Like for me, like looking at Frida's art, like, I mean, it's not my personal taste, really. Like it's not the kind of art I want to hang on my walls or anything. But I will say there is something about it that I do find like interesting and that like makes me at least want to look at it and connect with, because I mean, she lived a hard life and, you know, she went through sad things and you see those themes in her work. And I don't know, for me, like it makes me think there's something human about that connection, you know? There's something, I think it's kind of nice to sometimes share those sorrows with each other, you know? It makes you feel seen. Like, you know, this woman's going through this awful time. I too also go through awful times, and like the fact that we can connect on that.
But shouldn't it move beyond that at some point? You know, it's like
At some point, maybe, but
I don't know. Okay, this is how I look at it. Is Mary Cassatt completely, in my opinion, overlooked as a feminist? That is a true feminist, okay? And she lived a very victorious life. She lived on the other side of her pain. She painted the life that she wanted, not the life she got. And I think that takes a lot more courage. Another one, Van Gogh, a tortured, tormented soul, okay?
yeah.
Just like Frida. But if you look at Frida's art and you look at Van Gogh's art, it's very clear that Van Gogh painted the other side of his pain. Okay, and he was so much more, let's say, extroverted in that he really cared for other people. And he's quoted saying, the greatest art of all is to love people. Every quote you read from Frida is all about me, meaning all about her. Like I find it very narcissistic. I don't think she's a narcissist. I think Diego is, but I think, like I said, it rubbed off on her. And she became this extremely introspective. It's really all about her. And she didn't paint about greater themes or what's beyond herself. And I don't have to fault her for that. But is that so admirable? It's like, who cares about Ellie's little world? You know, like let's move beyond that. Like my world is not that interesting, and neither is hers.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that because I don't know. Well, again, we can only ever speak for ourselves. But for me, like I find the self-portrait works. I think that's what makes it so interesting, that it is a look into Frida's life and her as a person. And like looking at her work is getting to know her and her inner life, inner struggles, inner thoughts, all that. And I don't know, like to me, I feel like that makes it almost more, maybe not more, but still universal to others. And I think that's part of why she's popular, is because you look at it through your own eyes and you kind of will start to, put your own themes to it. Like, how do you relate to this piece? Even if it's just her reflection.
Do you really do that though? Tell me one piece you look at and you relate it to yourself.
I think the Without Hope, the piece where she's being like force-fed all the dead chickens and stuff. That's like probably, if I had to pick a favorite, I know it's a weird painting, but something about it I really like. And I think it's like just the idea of being like, she's being forced sustenance, forced to live, which is like good, but is it actually like, or are you just like prolonging suffering? And I don't know. It's like, it makes you think. And I think that's good, Then it like makes you, it makes me ponder, like,
but does it deserve the award of, all-time feminist?
All-time feminist? Probably not.
Does it win the award of like, wow, this is an empowered, deep thinker that's like fascinating and like really moving and shifting culture in a positive way?
I don't know. Maybe it could.
I don't see that. I can assign that role to many other people, but not her.
I think,
I think there's so much of her life that is unadmirable and is so yuck. It's, to me, she's very typical of Hollywood or these musicians that have like climbed to the top and fallen. And I just don't find that inspiring. And I don't find that, is it human? Okay, maybe, but I don't know. That's not what I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate the few that overcome that. I want to celebrate the ones who have the pain, but actually live overcoming it and live on the other side of that. And that's what I see as, we're not talking about what is valid, what is okay. There's no rules. Anybody can do whatever they want.
Do whatever they want.
I'm not
paint what you want.
Yeah, I'm not like saying, oh, she shouldn't. I guess the thing that I'm saying is, does she actually deserve? I don't even know if Frida is alive today, knowing that, especially as a so-called communist, which I gotta doubt, living, with their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Which is so typical, all these like elite people that are like, communism, I'm a communist, but they don't live it. So
it was
anyway,
trendy at the time.
Yeah. So like, whatever. You wonder, does she even understand it? I don't know. If she's actually true to what she believes and what she says she believes, okay, in all her diaries, documentaries that were made in her, she made films. I mean, they were of her.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of documentation that we have of what she actually thinks and believes. And so today, if that is true, which I don't know if it was, but yeah, would she today look at the fanfare, the, how she's become a commodity, how, all the movies about her, the way that she is portrayed, I don't even know if she would agree with them. And she would be like championing them and like, yeah, that's accurate to who I am. I think she would be actually, if it's true to what she says, she would be like disgusted.
I think she would, to a point. It's like that thing where it's like corporate feminism, corporate like helping oppressed groups, where it's just like very surface level, mostly for show.
Totally. Like that's my whole point of, is that Okay, Mary Cassatt does not fit their narrative. So she's not really celebrated she's celebrated as an impressionist. And okay, she's an impressionist, and look at, she made these paintings.
Yeah.
And she's female. Yay.
Yay.
You know, but they don't go very deep into like how she like stood and helped finance and women's suffrage, and how she made an exact choice to deny herself a specific life for the trade-off of this other life that she chose from a position of strength. Like, they don't highlight any of that, because she painted women and children in a very feminine way and nurturing, and for women to, in the Victorian times, for women to actually raise their own children and comb their own children's hair and read their own children's stories and kiss them on the mouth, and, you know, like those types of themes that doesn't fit the feminist narrative. Wearing pants and having a mustache and a unibrow does. And that is where I think the issue is. Yet Frida lived with a gross dude and like went back to him and went again and again and like put up with so much, you know?
Yeah.
Which to me is not strong. She herself didn't even, like, okay, I can admire better if they just publicly were like, we're married, it's an arrangement, and we have an open, free lifestyle. You know? He does his thing, I do my thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that I don't agree with it. I think it's gross, but I can at least admire that as like, it's strong, it's true to what you think. It's, you know, but that's not really the way it was.
Yeah.
At all.
This is where I kind of think the feminist framing of Frida kind of falls short. It honestly sells her short as a person, because like that is the life she lived. And love, relationships, they can be complicated. And I think Frida genuinely loved him. And I find it hard to fault her for sticking with him if, you know, that's the man she wants to be with. That's the man she wants to be with. Like, I mean, I've seen some feminists, you know, kind of attack Frida about that regard. And it doesn't seem fair. Like, she's a human being. Like, it kind of takes away her humanity and nuance, I feel like.
Well, it's just creepy. You know, I was just watching this documentary that she either made or was a part of or whatever, but it's her talking. And it's all these scenes of her with Diego, you know, her taking his hand and, you know, being so, oh, I love you, you're my whole world. And then it's her voiceover translated in English. So, I mean, I'm assuming they translated it accurately.
Yeah.
But it was creepy. And she's talking about how much she loves Diego, and she just wants him happy. And she wants him to eat what he wants to eat and sleep as much as he wants and be with whoever he wants. She just wants him happy. He's like, she says this, he's like my child, and I want to feed him. I want to, you know, hold him like he's my child. And it's like,
I mean, she's just kind of weird, but...
Yes, but does that deserve the mantle of feminist?
Yeah, proud. I mean, does it disqualify her entirely from it? I don't know.
I just think it's really superficial to wrap female empowerment around men's pants and you know, a mustache.
I agree.
It's get real.
But I agree with that. But I also don't think her weird relationship with Diego also discredits her from feminism.
You know what award she does deserve?
What?
Not a feminist. Okay? Or anything about female empowerment. As a female, I look at her life, I do not feel inspired or empowered by it at all. Okay? Here's the award she gets to wear, I think she deserves, is I am me, I'm completely weird, authentically wholly weird, and I'm walking in it and I'm living it very authentically. And I don't really give a rip what anybody thinks. I'm just my own weird self. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, but a lot of that weird stuff is not admirable. And I think that's where The real issue is I don't even know as a culture right now we can agree on what is admirable. And
that's true.
And that's really probably where this difference of opinion is what I find admirable and what you find admirable are going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what it comes down to. And I think that anybody who's given a position of leadership should live out admirably. You know, they should be admirable. They should be inspiring. They should be somebody we look up to. Otherwise, don't have leaders like that. Go be a follower. Like, we don't want to make more of you because leaders produce people like themselves. Do we want a bunch of Fridas running around? No. Not at all. Society would collapse if all the women were just like Frida.
Yeah. But on the flip side of that, you know, every leader is also human. So it's like well, every person's going to have some not so admirable traits. I've got some, you've got some, the cameraman's got some, you know. I don't know. To me, it kind of comes to a balance of like impact, what they do to the world, how they affect it. And as far as Frida Kahlo's impact, this is where it goes back to my kind of general opinion. She's like, yeah, it's like, I mean, I don't think Frida Kahlo and like looking up to her being one of the more iconic artists, I don't think it's a negative. I don't think so. I think it's either neutral or maybe a positive.
I honestly don't think she's had a big impact.
You don't think?
No, she's famous. There's difference between like fame and, you know, and I think that's something we confuse today. I mean, like, I know
that's true. Just because we know who
like,
she is.
I know you like Taylor Swift, so I'm not trying to like get touchy here.
I like her music. I don't know much about her.
Okay, so that's my point. Is Taylor Swift is like super famous and an icon and all these things, but is she impactful? Has she shifted culture? I can't even hum a tune from one of her songs. I know nothing that she stands for. I don't see any reverberations or things that have resulted, you know, because of her. Whereas you look at Elon Musk, completely different. He's famous, well-known, and he's making like PayPal. Like, I mean, you name it. Like, he has shifted culture. Some would say in a positive way, some would say not, but definitely he's shifted culture. What is Frida Kahlo? What can we say? We have it today. It exists today. I walk in it today. This is an attitude we've adopted because of Frida. And had it not been for Frida, that would never be.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Diego, honestly.
I mean, I guess for like Mexico, maybe. But then that's more.
But there was a lot. There was a lot of other. I mean, that was a whole movement. He was just one little piece of it.
They are on one of the pesos, though. The 500 one, I think. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. They are. I'm like 90% sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe people will write in the comments, like,
yeah,
what earth-shattering culture shifts have happened because of Frida Kahlo's life and something she did.
Yeah.
I get that she's famous. I get that she's influenced fashion. I personally love the fashion.
It's true. She had drip.
Drip? What is that?
That's like good fashion.
Oh.
Yeah.
That slang. Boy, I'm old.
Honestly, that's kind of old slang by this point too, so.
Yeah, I mean, I see her influence in you know, sort of more superficial ways. I don't know.
You know, I do think though that she can be worldwide, world changing. I wouldn't put Frida Kahlo there, but you know, on an individual level, I think that there's a lot of people that would look at her art and maybe feel seen, can relate to it in some way, and I think on that level, she can impact people and has impacted people.
I can see that, like, especially, you know, women that have like dealt with not being able to have children.
Yeah.
Or
like health issues,
disabilities, chronic pain. Absolutely.
That goes back to that, a sorrow shared is a sorrow halved.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in terms of that, like those kinds of people, I think she's, I mean, in the comments, you can tell me if you agree, but I think that's impacted some people.
But imagine this. This is far-fetched. I know this would never happen, but just imagine Just imagine. She goes to Paris. She's away from Diego. She's out of his vortex of narcissism. She's with other people. She's had her own success. And she comes back, and in reality, she divorces him, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, she stays divorced. She stays out of his web. She stays out of that vortex. And she's like, you know what? I am not a victim. I am not, imprisoned in my own body. And I'm going to mobilize. I'm going to be healthy. I'm not going to do drugs anymore. I'm not going to, smoke and drink all the time. I'm going to get healthy, and I'm going to paint the other side of my pain, and I'm going to paint the life I want, not the life I have. And I'm going to paint my future and not my past. And I'm going to paint all of my contributions that I believe that I have and things I have to offer. I'm going to paint legacy. And she got ahead of her body, right? And, the gangrene she got in her foot is due to her choices.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that wouldn't have happened. She could have, and let's say she lived, instead of dying at 47 by her own choices, let's say she made different choices and she lived till she was 70. Okay. And had a whole shift of paintings. And you saw before her divorce and after her divorce. And then you saw this incredible overcoming and victory. That would shift culture. That would be somebody worthy of wearing the feminist mantle. That would be somebody that I could look up to and go, wow, she really got a hold of her life and made these amazing choices that benefited her life, that gave her prosperity and longevity and health and a positive mental attitude. And look at these paintings. That's so inspiring. And imagine that.
I don't know. Maybe. Like, I think that'd be cool. I feel like she would produce some cool work that way. I do also find appreciation for the work she did do and the way she did do it. I don't know what the impact really is on the world of her current work or whatever, but I do think that it does matter. Because, like, in the time she lived, the time she did her thing, I think the world needed those kinds of paintings.
But wouldn't it be so great if people had, like, okay, imagine you are suffering and you do have similar circumstances.
Yeah.
Or you're married to somebody who's like that, or, just name her issues. There's a lot of them. And what if you also have that? But there's no path out. There's just this, oh, I should just kill myself like Frida did. Oh, I should just become a drug addict like Frida was. There's no path out. So it's like, to me, it's a miry pit of darkness. And a lot of people that maybe feel those things, there's this motivational speaker that has no arms and no legs. Mm-hmm. And he is traveling all over the world, and he has tremendous health issues that he has to overcome. And his whole message is, sometimes you are not I think it was like, sometimes you're given lemons and you got to make lemonade. I mean, that's basically his message. Yeah. And it's super inspiring. I've heard him speak before. That gives people who do have disabilities or have had unfortunate, events and physical, problems from it. It gives them a way out. It gives them a path forward into light, out of darkness, out of the pit, out of an inevitable self-demise. And,
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, maybe I'm being harsh. Maybe I'm being unpopular in what I'm saying about Frida, but I just don't think she deserves all the fame and notoriety and the platform she's been given, not by herself. I don't blame her. I blame us. I blame culture. I blame the powers that be in the art world that have elevated her, because I think those elitists want weak people. They want people that are victims and don't have a path forward out to be empowered and actually live a purposeful life that really does things. I think that elitist structure wants to idolize. Look at Hollywood. Look at most rock stars. They're all that thing. That is what the system wants to idolize.
I mean, does it though? Like I look at Hollywood
Clearly.
and all that. Every story has a happy ending.
What famous person do you know that's really, really well known in Hollywood in that is this amazing, admirable person that lives a life that we would all just go, wow, they're such an incredible person. It's the fringe groups. It's the motivational speakers. It's the, Tony Robbins. It's those people that do it. It's not the ones that the system, meaning the music system, the Hollywood system, the art system, that have, the Rockefellers commissioned those guys. It's the museums that have bought the paintings. Mm-hmm. It is not just some like wealthy, lady who's like, oh, what a beautiful, inspiring painting. I want that on my wall and live with it every day. No, it's the museums, it's the institutes that buy these paintings and put on the shows and elevate and write the books and make the documentaries.
I agree that the uplifting, paint the other side of the pain, that stuff should be uplifted. Like, I agree with that. But I do think it's also important to have the other side also, And that's why I feel like Frida was meant to be that part of it. Like, I feel like it's a necessary ingredient. Because, like, the world is more than just Frida Kahlo,
Yeah, so...
But I think that her and her work and what it was is an important part of it still. And having those themes, that kind of painting the actual pain itself.
But maybe the importance would be to depict that in truthful light. And instead of as, a feminist icon, she's like, look at this woman in this time period where this is what was going on in history. And there was, the Mexican Revolution. And it was, she was married to this man who was larger than life and really dominated and, treated her bad. And then she had, this, and these were her circumstances. And she made a whole lot of painful, whatever art. And then she killed herself. Like that I wouldn't mind at all. And I'm not saying she doesn't deserve any kind of spotlight or any kind of recognition. I'm definitely not saying that. I just to refashion her as a hero, in my opinion, is where it falls short.
Yeah. My final takeaway is I do think there is a way to look at Frida as a hero. It's just, recognizing that she was also human. Because I do think, like, I find a lot of her life admirable. I mean, when she got in that bus accident and stuff, people came together and people helped her, which I actually find very beautiful, that, like, her mother got her that custom thing, her father gave her the paints and stuff, and like people helped her. And I think that's actually very beautiful and something that I think a lot of, like, especially like disabled people can relate to, like having to rely on others and that not necessarily being a bad thing.
Right.
And like those kind of things, and the fact that, she still painted, she still did her things. Like, I agree with you, like how, like what you just said, how she should be uplifted in that kind of light. I agree with that. But I also do kind of think that still kind of does spill over into some of the things we currently view has the feminist and empowering and kind of things. Like, it does just kind of inherently come through living your own life and doing your thing, even if it's not necessarily in a way that's probably the best way to do it, to live a long, happy, healthy life. But I think there's still admiration there that's somewhat deserving. I think she's deserving of her recognition, just in a slightly different light than we put her in, which is basically what you said, kind of.
Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah. Very interesting.
And again, we don't really have to agree on everything.
Yeah. And like I said, we did a lot of that.
Yeah. So there you have it. Those are our thoughts thus far on the famous Frida Kahlo as an artist. What do you do if you've lived a very painful, traumatic life? Obviously, that's up to each of us to how you would want to navigate that. And I think a lot of it depends on the role you see yourself, right?
Yeah.
Do you even see yourself in a role, or are you just trying to get through it and your art is helping you? Because I think art is very healing, and a lot of people process their pain And I think that's what Frida was doing, honestly. She was processing her pain through her art, but it was the world that painted that in a maybe a little different way than she intended it.
Yeah.
Hope you found this interesting, and feel free to share your comments. I'm sure some of the things we said provoked you or made you think of things that maybe you hadn't thought of before. And so we would love to hear what you think. I think we should do this again.
I think she is again too.
All right.
Tell us who we should talk about next time.
Yeah. So we will see you in the next one.